Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Late Night Football. This is not a match reaction episode, but it is a reaction show because this morning, news broke officially that Erik Ten Hag has signed with Manchester United. Finally, been waiting for a while. We all thought it would be yesterday because, that's how the club operates, but they waited one more day. They gave us one more day to stew over, and now they've announced it today. We did actually do a show about Erik Ten Hag last week when Fabrizio Romano broke the news. Kania did that one, so if you haven't seen it, do check it out. It's a wonderful watch as well. But we're here, and we're going to do a little bit more in depth as to about Erik Ten Hag and what that means for United going forward. Joining me today, it's the FM show back again. We got Farhan and Mike back again on the show. Farhan, welcome once again. It's great to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I hope you're doing well. And of course, you got Mike as well. Mike, welcome as well. It's nice to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Yeah, it is. It's awesome. It's great. Yeah, it's wonderful. It's like we've got the Canadian crew here, and it's I love these ones. I love these shows. I like these ones. They're pretty nice to do. So anyway, I mean, we were here 6-7 months ago. I think it was in December. We were talking about Rangnick joining the club and what that means. And one of the things we talked about was possibly casting the net a little bit wide when it comes to managerial appointments. I think we discussed Erik Ten Hag as well as one of the guys who might be coming, though we didn't know about that. So let's get initial reactions in. Let's start with you, Farhan. Initial thoughts on signing Erik Ten Hag? What do you think?
I was excited. I was so excited. I almost shaved my head.
You are.
I thought, misery. Some good news after misery is always is good for being a United fan. It tends to be the trend for this year. So we haven't had much good news, and I think this was one of the better news that we had this season. So I felt excited. I was happy that Ten Hag got signed. Was the person that was chosen. It feels like the first time United has ever chosen a manager that is right at the right moment of his career, at the right time, for him to take another step, and it so happened to be us. So yeah, that's how I felt.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I mean, yeah, definitely it's a sensible appointment. I think that's what we can call it, and that feels weird, isn't it? United doing something sensible. Mike, obviously there were other candidates, and I don't think he was their preferred candidate, but they've gone with him, which is good, obviously. I mean, is this, and I know we're going to get a reaction on this, but is this a good time to be coming to United, or is this a bad time? Because I mean, after what happened on Tuesday, some might think it's a bad time, but actually it might not. It might be the perfect time for him to come in because expectations are so low; they're probably below the ground at the moment. So he's probably thinking that it's a good time.
Well, I did a bit of reading, and it's almost like maybe no time's a good time to come to United just because of the club and the pressure, United, the Premier League and so on. But I think Farhan made a great point, and it's something I read today in an article that almost really the first time since Ferguson himself, we're getting a manager who's like kind of at that point where, he's on the up. He's won some titles, he's like shaped a team. He did really well with Ajax in the Champions League, and lost his key players, rebuilt the team. They're having another good season. And he's young enough. He's got a clear way of playing, and players who played under him have great things to say about him. So I agree with Farhan. I think we're getting the right guy at the right time in his career. And one thing I did read is apparently a condition of him signing was that he got final say on transfers. And I really think he needs Ferguson-like power in a sense to do what needs to be done. And it sounds like he's well, I also read that he really laid into Fletcher and Murtaugh in an interview, or Murtaugh, I don't know how to pronounce his name. He really laid into them and kind of tore the team apart, tore them to shreds. And Rangnick's been doing that in his own way in press conferences. So yeah, I think it does seem to be the right time for this kind of manager finally. And I think if Rangnick stays and helps with the structure kind of behind the scenes, because one thing I did read that, Ten Hag is, he's been able to succeed within the structure of Ajax. And so I think, we got to replicate that in a way. But yeah, I think it's, I think it's a good time, as good as the time it can be. I mean, I'm impressed they've gotten it done now, and they didn't drag this on until the end of the season or into the summer transfer window. They got it done, so like there's certainty, for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, well, to be fair, even the last permanent managerial appointment was done in March or April. The only problem was that the guy they hired was already sitting there. So,
Yeah.
Solskjaer, they already had him.
Yeah, fair enough.
That.
Yeah.
But yeah, and they've done that. It's actually a good point, which I was going to touch on. So, Mike is kind of given as a nice segue because you're talking about Rangnick and talking about the structure, Farhan. Now, the report is that now there's lots of conflicting reports here, so we don't know what to believe, and you're never going to get the full truth anyway. But the thing is, there's some that are saying that Rangnick's consultancy role is really it's basically part-time, so they're doing 6 hours a week or something like that, which is, I mean, it's absurd, right? When you think about it, but that's what he's been given. Others are saying, well, that he's going to have more of a role going forward, that he's probably Ten Hag is probably looking to get advice from him going forward, that they want to work together. So there's all sorts of reports. We don't know what to believe. But to Mike's point with the structure thing, how important is it for Rangnick to stay involved at the club? Because he's already kind of doing, I feel like what he's doing right now is he's basically hinting to the board, he's hinting to the new manager. Guess what? These guys, you got to watch out for them, because some of these guys are not good enough. They're not, you can't keep them. And he comes out and makes those statements. So he's probably making that clear. But how much of an involvement is important for him to be at the club beyond his managerial period, like with that consultancy role? How important is it for him to stay on and actually be involved in the club affairs going forward?
It's super important because first of all, 6 hours a month. I wish I can work. I think we all wish we can work like 6 hours a month or something like that. I was a bit nervous when I heard that, because it's just like, it kind of made me feel as if United just got a one-up on a guy that's the most important, to me at least, the most important asset to the team at that time before Ten Hag hired, because he says, to me, what I love about Rangnick is his press conference before the match and after the match, and that's where he's winning, I think, a lot of fans over and saying a lot of things that we all really feel in terms of like where the team is at, what's lacking. So I don't know if this is a strategy on his part, because we don't know if that 6 hours is true, but he really laid the blueprint and said, like, I've already suggested players to the team in terms of like who they should be looking at, who should be on their radar, and saying stuff like 10 players need to leave at any given moment, all of which indicate that which is what we all feel. And so it's good that information is being relayed, or that information is out there, especially from Rangnick. So it is important for him to be there. And who else knows the team other than him? Like right now, in terms of like the staff, who knows the team better than him? He's trained with them for the last 6 months. He's been on pitch side. Who knows whose work ethic is better than the other? And so I'm sure Ten Hag would want that information going into the summer transfer window. So I've also read certain things about him not necessarily having as much leeway into the interview process, only coming in at the end. So it's a bit of worrying, because it's like almost tug and pull, which is the nature of Manchester United and the front office and the players on the pitch. So I hope that he's heard and listened to. He has a lot of insight from building teams in the past, and he knows firsthand from the players that we have who's capable of like fulfilling the style of play that Ten Hag wants to play. And I'm sure it's similar to his in a lot of like high press, ball carrying center backs, quick passes and whatnot. So we'll see if they'll follow through. I when it comes to Manchester United board, I don't have faith, but I have faith in the people that are coming in. So they've made two right decisions at two key moments, and so let this like be a trend to continue on.
No, yeah, for sure. Actually, they made 3 as well. They also fired to the recruitment staff. Go as well. That happened as well. And I mean, touching on that, Mike, because what Farhan's talked about with the recruitment process, the players, all of that. Again, other rumors that Rangnick is not happy with Dan Fletcher, not Duncan Fletcher, Dan Fletcher. I don't know if you've heard that one, but basically he's upset that Fletcher has been, he doesn't know why Fletcher is running on the training onto the technical area and telling players what to do. Apparently, Fletcher also trains with the players, which he doesn't like. So there's a lot of. I just wonder if they, and this is a conspiracy theory of mine, but I think they hired Rangnick because they thought he was the best of both worlds. Like he's someone who doesn't mind being interim and also someone who the fans like. So you kind of get that from him. I don't know if they have long-term plans with that consultancy role beyond just like a paper thing. And I mean, I don't know, but he just seems like someone that you want to keep it on, especially the way he was talking about Liverpool, where he's saying, 6-7 players that came from the, from his tutelage to the event that they're now playing for Liverpool. So he's just such a good asset to have. And yet for some reason, whatever that reason is, the United don't seem keen on leveraging that. Yeah,
I actually hadn't heard that he wasn't too happy or wasn't kind of keen on whatever role Fletcher's playing in the team. I haven't heard that.
I don't think anybody's keen on the role that Fletcher. Nobody even knows what role Fletcher.
Nobody even really knows what it is or why. Yeah, like why is he there?
Technical director, but I think I think the United people, when they heard technical director, they probably thought, oh, that means the guy who's on the technical, who's directing the technical area of the pitch. I think maybe that's what it is, but I have no idea.
Yeah, no. I mean, I agree with. I mean, a lot of with what Farhan said. It's. I mean, here's a guy in Rangnick who has a lot of experience building, like not just teams, but organizations, establishing a way of playing, looking for players to fit the system and knowing what that system is and what you need in players. And there was actually, there's a really good article in The Guardian this week. I forget the writer. It wasn't Jamie Jackson. It might have been either like either David Taylor or like Jonathan Lee or one of those guys. It was a really great article about, and especially thinking of the Liverpool game, that you notice how Rangnick is constantly saying, well, we didn't have enough physical intensity or we need to be stronger. And he's been saying this in different ways now for several games. And I think, I think he's sending messages. And I hope he's being heard. And I really do hope, he is consulted. But I think Rohit, I think you're hinting at something that, and Farhan, you kind of think about it earlier too. It's like we all kind of sort of wait with bated breath a bit because somehow like the structure that's already there is going to screw this up, right? Because what is Fletcher's role? Why won't they listen to Rangnick? They're going to think, oh, we can do this ourselves. I was reading today that, one obstacle that may still be in place are the Glazers themselves, because they all have to have final say on big decisions. So they can't just let the football people do the football thing. And even there, it's a bit confused. So, but I think, I think Rangnick, he's sending his messages, and the way he was like, talking about Klopp and Guardiola and the way they got to build their teams and things like that. And, he did say it could be done within 2 to 3 transfer windows. You just have to do it smartly. You have to rebuild smartly. You can do it. It can be done. And I think, I think Farhan alluded to it. I think a big problem might be you got to move a lot of players out, and it has to be done. And I wish, if they listen to Rangnick, and I think Ten Hag has also voiced his opinions on the squad, move the players out, and I don't know, like eat the money if you have to eat the money. Loan them out, take Pogba's gone for sure, probably let it go. And other players who maybe.
Yeah, you're moving too fast. We're going to talk about the players, but you're moving too fast.
Okay.
I'll let you go now.
I really hope Rangnick is consulted like fully and properly. I think it could be a real chance to move United forward and kind of get us past the. It's not nice to say, the kind of albatross of Ferguson in a way, kind of hanging over the team, and just go a new direction.
Yeah, I think this. Yeah, I guess sometimes. The thing with the past managers has been that there's not been that disconnection from Ferguson. I think he's a big presence. I don't agree with a lot of reports that people talk about him like wanting power or influence. I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
I just think that there is a differential culture at the top, and that sometimes inhibits people. But anyway, we will see what happens there. We're gonna. The reason I started Mike is because that's kind of a thing that makes all of us kind of involved. We talk about players, but we have to talk about players. And then I wanted to touch on that. We'll come to you right now as well, because we talk about player transfers, Mike. Now, here's the thing. This is interesting. Now, when I count, you've got Pogba who's leaving, you've got Lingard who's leaving, you've got Mata, you've Cavani, and there's one more that I'm forgetting. Who is that? Lingard.
Jones.
Well, Jones, yeah, Jones
Likely,
as well. I think there's someone else. There's definitely 6 players that I count that are definitely leaving. They're definitely going to leave at the end of the season. They're out of contract, so they're going to be leaving. And then you've got possibly Henderson and Bailly as well, and Martial, and possibly Ronaldo, depending on where that one and lands up. Then that's 10. That's already 10 players that are going. And we've not even touched on the players that we want to go. One player that I've not mentioned. We're going to come to the end probably, but that's 10 players, Mike, that are going to go at the end of the season. And it's like playing real life FIFA in a way, isn't it? Because you got 10 in, 10 out. It's a big overhaul that's going to be needed. How many players do you think United need? And what are the key positions that they need to address?
Yeah, well, I mean, certainly, a great or a good, defensive midfielder. We've been needing one for years. I mean, since Rangnick came, a lot of names have been. I mean, especially in the January window, a lot of names were mentioned. I mean, my ideal would be like a Jude Bellingham or someone like that. I think West Ham is pricing Rice just out of possibility, and I'm not entirely convinced he'd be the guy anyways. So yeah, I think we need a center back. I mean, Maguire, and I was reading today that Maguire may be someone who suffers in the Ten Hag system. I mean, he's not playing very well this season.
I think he just suffers. I don't think he suffers. I think he just suffers. Yeah. And I'll come to Maguire at the end, because there's a very interesting comment that I have on Maguire. We'll come to the end, but I'll let you finish.
So and I was reading today too that obviously a striker, and I mean, so I've seen names mentioned here and there, and I think this is a time not to go for the really big names. This is a time to know the players you need for your system, and get players that are going to work, and that are young and hungry. I think maybe not English. Although I mean, I've been reading that James Garner's having a really good season at Nottingham Forest, and he could be. I mean, I remember seeing him a year or two ago, thinking, okay, this guy's actually really good, and maybe we don't need to. I mean, he's perhaps still young, but yeah, I would say a great central defensive midfielder at a minimum. And also, I mean, I was reading today as well. We don't have like a De Bruyne type, someone who really runs the pitch, and Fernandes did it for a little bit when he first came, but that doesn't really seem to be his role now somehow, or things have changed. So I think somebody like that, and a striker. I think there are assets there already that, with perhaps Ten Hag's coaching, would almost be like a transfer. We could maybe talk about that, but yeah, I mean, I was, I was hoping we'd get Varane for years, and it's been a bit disappointing. He's been injured a lot. When he has been in the team, he's really solid. He's great to watch, but he's just been injured so much. So yeah, center back, central defensive midfielder, a De Bruyne type somehow, and I think a striker, a key. I mean, Ten Hag's probably going to make better use of Sancho, hopefully. He's had glimpses this year, so yeah.
Yeah, well, the question is, of course, the right winger. That is something that always, we signed Sancho to be the right winger, but he's turned out to be a better left winger, so he's not playing on the left. So I mean, keep trying to find the right winger apparently every season, and it doesn't happen. Fine. I mean, Mike actually touched on some good points. Talking about strikers, one of the names, the real name that's being named is Darwin Nunez. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's from Benfica striker. It's going to cost a bomb. They're talking about 80 million euros. I think is the price tag. I mean, again, Mike touched on the point of Declan Rice. I don't think right now that they need to go for any English players at all. And I leave Ghana out of it because Ghana is a youth product, so youth academy players are different. But I don't think we need to sign any English players, which worries me a little bit because there's still talk of Kane, there's still talk of Phillips. Calvin Phillips from Leeds. It's a bit of a thing. I don't know what's going on there. But are there any other signings that you would like to see at United? In terms of transfers in.
Yeah, I mean, Mike touched a lot about the areas that we need support in, and I'm not opposed to any English players. I just think the price tag
it just eats into the budget, doesn't it? It just eats.
If they can come under 50 million, then we can have conversations about English players. But the English tax on certain players is what makes me shy away. I agree with Mike. I think the midfield position needs to be bolstered up with Pogba and Matic leaving.
And Mata, yeah.
And Juan Mata for the 5 to 10 minutes he played this season. But I think one name that sticks out for me in midfield is I probably say his name wrong. Tchouaméni.
Yeah.
No, he's. I didn't want to mention Tchouaméni. He's probably gonna go to Madrid.
Madrid. I've heard rumors of him going to Madrid. I was gonna say, and he was also linked with Liverpool and also Manchester United. So I've seen a few articles explaining like how he can pretty much play a lot of the box to box, somewhat of a defensive midfielder, and he's being priced reasonably in the French league. The French league has some quality midfielders over there. I think right back needs to be addressed as well. I think the reason why the right side struggles is because the right back position doesn't really provide much moving going forward. And no knock on wan-Bissaka or Dalot. I think they both bring one side to the game but not the other in their respective skills.
They might need a left back too, because I mean they play the right back on the left against Liverpool, so they might need a left back, a backup left back as well.
Yeah. Player names other than that, I've heard so many. I like a lot of the names being said. Bissouma from Brighton, he's quite good. Neves from
Ruben Neves, yeah.
Ruben Neves is another midfielder.
There's also Alvarez from Ajax, who's playing under Ten Hag, and there's Enzo Fernandez from River Plate, who was supposed to be I don't think that will happen, but yeah.
Sorry, Robert. One thing I would say is that we with those 10 players or like 6 to 10 players we said that might be leaving. I see though a lot of depending on the callbacks on loan and the youth system, we might see some players that come up through that. We saw Hannibal play, I think, on Tuesday for like 5 minutes, and everyone was talking about him because
he made tackles. That's why he made 2 tackles.
Yeah, exactly. He just did like 3 tackles, and we were like, yes, this is it. Because we're desperate for players that want to play for this team and fight, for the shirt. So I see a lot. If Ten Hag knows how to play with youth and brought up a lot of youth to the system, it might just be some of these players that were away, like Van Der Beek as well. He might just be a new signing when he comes back. Or being brought Garner, like Mike said. So it might be a mix of signings and then people coming back in the youth as well to fill up that 10-player role. But all in all, I think I'll be excited to see, as long as they're committed to the cause and really want to play for this team, I'll be happy to see anybody really on this team coming this fall.
Yeah, at centre back as well, they've got Julian Timber and Pau Torres, so the 2 players.
Yeah, Timber is another name.
Again, Timber from Ajax.
We're just going to take Ajax. So Ajax.
I wouldn't want too many Ajax players to come to United at this point. I think it's best not to, because it's familiarity. You don't want that. So it'd be nice to not have too many Ajax players, but we'll see what happens. Another name that's not been mentioned, we should mention it because we're all proud Canadians, Jonathan David. That's a player. I think he's severely underrated because I think he's Canadian. Probably that's why he's a bit underrated because, when you've got a talented Canadian and a talented Uruguayan, you probably go for the talented Uruguayan and Darwin Nunez. But, David's cheaper. I think he would be a good option for United if they want him. I do think Arsenal will go for him, though. I think they need a striker, so Arsenal might go for Jonathan David. But, that's another name that throw out in the hat as well, as someone who's potential. But Mike, also coming back to this, and we'll talk about existing players quickly, but I wanted to touch on this as well. 10 players leaving in a season, United, there used to be a time when people didn't want to leave United, but now here we are talking about 10 players going. Is that is mismanagement, bad recruitment? I mean, what is it that we're in a situation right now where I mean, it's probably fortuitous for the new manager, but in some ways it's probably also sad because you have so many players that are itching to leave or ready to leave.
All of the above. Yeah, I mean, as we all know, it's
I'll lead you into
years of kind of scattershot recruitment. I mean, like a player, I'll be sad to see would be Mata. I mean, I think he's been one of the better signings post Ferguson. He's obviously loved playing at United. I mean, he hasn't been played much the last year or so. But yeah, I just think it's time, and it's got to be done, and it's just one of those things where I think almost in a way you've got to be cold, but it's I mean, I also think like someone we didn't mention too is Brandon Williams. He's had a pretty good season at Norwich. He could come in left back, right back. But yeah, I'm not going to be that sad to see Pogba go. I mean, it just hasn't worked out. I wish it had, because on the days when he's on, he's easily, for me, one of the top 5 players in the world. It's just he doesn't do it enough. It's like 3-4 games a season. He had 4 assists. What was it in the first 2 games of the year?
I think it's 7 assists in the first
6 or 7. Yeah, and then it's like nothing. He did his usual 2-month injury. So, yeah, I think what they talk about. I guess when Solskjaer came in, he talked about like a cultural reboot. I think this would be the cultural reboot. Some players that they're coming to the end. Matches has said he's going, right. Mata's going, and Pogba's done, and others. And so move him out, get it done, be cold, and bring in the youth, bring in the academy players, bring in players that want to play for the team and want to succeed, and give Ten Hag the time and the power. And yeah, and as you're seeing on Twitter and elsewhere, like people are just they're disappointed with the players.
Yeah,
and I think, and that's the big thing, and that's hard for me too. It's been hard to watch. I'm a bit of a masochist in a way. I'm going to watch these matches, but Liverpool is a 2-0. All right, I'm done. I just can't watch it anymore because just the players aren't playing.
Well, I don't think the players wanted to watch it either. 2-0, they were like, yeah, sure. But once full time coming, ref can be. I don't think they were interested in it either. After 2-0.
And I guess that for me is what's been the mystery. I guess in the last couple of years is they've had opportunities to get to a final, win a trophy, secure 4th. I mean, we're doing it again. We're kind of shooting ourselves in our own feet. We could if we just stayed consistent, we could do this, but it's the mentality, and it's hard to watch. And this is the first time, I guess, since I've been a United fan where I'm like, I'm sad, I'm disappointed, not quite tipping to despair just yet, but so I think, what, and that was one thing that Ferguson was great at, right? Was resetting the team. Moving players out. No one's bigger than the team, and reboots and rejigs and so forth. And you see Klopp doing it at Liverpool, like slowly bringing in a Jota, and now Diaz, and one guy here, one guy there. As well. And Alcantara is having a good season now, and and they find a way to carefully renew the team. But I think maybe we got to give it, let's say next season, move the 10 out, or whoever's going to be bringing people, give Ten Hag a year to start settling in, and then see what happens.
I don't think we can put any expectations on next season. I wouldn't want to do it either. So we're not going to talk about what the goals are for next season. We're going to skip that part because I mean, it's just a wait and watch. We got to wait and see. Farhan, I mean, just coming to the end here, but I want to talk about a few of the current players and what happens to them, because I mean that's the key part, isn't it? We're talking about the players. I mean, Donnie Van Der Beek, we touched on him coming back, new signing. He's made some questionable career choices. I still can't for the life of me believe why he decided to go to Everton, and he must be asking himself as well why I've gone to Everton. But he's coming back now. Probably think he'll be coming back, we assume, and hopefully Ten Hag will give an opportunity. to prove that why he was. And then if you get him, you don't really need a creative midfielder because he's that creative midfielder, unless he decides that, unless Ten Hag decides he doesn't want Bruno, in which case they've just given him a new 5-year contract, and God alone knows what they're going to do with Bruno next. But I mean, there's Donnie Van Der Beek, there's Marcus Rashford as well, there's Bruno Fernandes as well, and then of course we've got to talk about Cristiano Ronaldo and Harry Maguire. What do you see with the futures of these players?
Yeah,
these ones in particular.
It's tough to say. My inclination is that, when it comes to Ronaldo, Maguire, Rashford, I think they'll slowly be eased out of this team, only because I from what I've read about Ten Hag's system and the way he likes to play with the high line and a defender that has the ball at his feet and can make those passes. That does not sound like Maguire at all, especially from what we've seen this season. So and then what he's done with Tadic at Ajax, resurrected his career from Southampton. I don't know if that can happen with Cristiano Ronaldo. I don't think so.
Oh, Bruno. I mean, I think Ronaldo would be more like Haller, wouldn't he? Haller was the one who was a flop.
Oh, yes. Sorry, yeah, he played false nine.
Yeah, right. There's a striker. Tadic would probably be the Bruno equivalent. He could maybe become that player.
Bruno needs to be reined in my opinion. He needs, he needs to be told a specific role and stick to that specific position or whatever that vision might be, because I think he's been a bit all over the place this season. Rashford, it's very unfortunate. I have a soft spot for him, so I feel for him. He's put a lot for this club and done a lot for this team, and it's just unfortunate to seem like that. I hope whatever I hope Ten Hag can somewhat resurrect him back to what we saw for maybe 2 seasons ago, because he hasn't been playing well the last 2 seasons, if we're being honest. And so yeah, those 3 in particular. Sancho, the verdict still. He's like he's shown glimpses of what he can do, but not consistently, not enough to feel confident in the fact that he's worth whatever price we paid. And I hope that it's just the way the team is playing, how we're being down, that it has an effect on a lot of these guys, and that when someone who can come in and coach and provide more insight into how a team should be playing and what roles are defined, then maybe we'll see a lot of these guys flourish. Personally, I don't know if all of them will be here 2 years, 3 years down the line, maybe 2, if I'm being honest. Sancho, Bruno. But I hope to see what comes. Hopefully some of them can stay. Not Maguire though. I hope he can leave, but the rest of them.
Yeah, I mean it's Sancho. I think he'll probably be here for a little longer. I don't think you can judge him on 1 season anyway. He's probably going to take. I think he might enjoy playing with Ten Hag in the way that he plays. But touching on that point, I find about Marcus Rashford, because I mean there's 2 points of it, Rashford and Ronaldo. I think Rashford, Ronaldo, and Bruno are kind of in that last chance saloon kind of area with next season. They've got to perform well, but then Ronaldo is already out of contract at the end of next season, so it doesn't really matter what he does because he's going to leave. So I think it's more for Rashford and Bruno. I think next season really is about that's the last chance to kind of impress and kind of prove that they can still have a future at United. Rashford just is completely out of confidence at the moment, isn't he? I mean, he can't even. I mean, I don't know whether he's become predictable, because every time he tries to run past players and he loses the ball. I think that's pretty much what he's done. He's not added to his game a little bit. Bruno, I mean, he's more interested in whining and complaining and sulking, and it just feels like certain players have almost given up on the season. I mean, if not their careers, they're definitely given up on the season.
Yeah. No, I think. Sorry, just to touch on one thing that I did remember was I think I read an article about how the fitness of these players, and Rangnick was commenting about how people get injured per se, and you look at Liverpool and you look at Man City, and they're Liverpool, he said they're potentially in 4 cups and still quite healthy, and in comparison to us, where we have 7 players injured at the moment. So it's a lot to question in terms of what's going on in the background. What do when Ole was there, what are they doing in practice? So it's just a lot of question marks that you hope, it's a lot of pressure for Ten Hag, but you hope some of them get answered with him being appointed and the structure being put in place in terms of who comes in and who leaves,
Yeah. Sorry, Mike, we got you up there. Do you have anything to
Oh,
add?
sorry.
No, I'm saying, did you have anything to add to that?
Oh yeah, well, yeah, I think Farhan makes some good points about you know,
Fitness.
I think we're gonna have to look at easing Maguire on. It's just like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's strange because he plays so well with England, and I was reading that, well, he plays really well in that Southgate's back three system. So it's not like he's like suddenly a bad defender. I just think he's not a defender for the style that, you know, like we see City and Liverpool and other teams playing. Like he's been exposed too much. I think
I
yeah,
disagree, but I'll let you finish.
yeah, and it's been sad to see what's happened with Rashford. I think it's something mental maybe. Like he had his surgery, he came back, he had a good few games, and then he just seems to have stalled. I wonder if, you know, someone like a Ten Hag can come in and, like as Farhan was saying, and I think this is where we would really see Sancho come to the fore, because, you know, I read earlier in the season that, you know, he's coming from, you know, Dortmund, where there was a clear system and how you press and where you go and who does what at what time, and with Solskjaer, you know, and the other players on the team, you see Sancho doing one thing and nobody's following him properly stuff. So so I think he'll benefit, and I think Van Der Beek is a really interesting thing, because apparently, you know, before he came to United, he was on the long list for the Ballon d'Or one year, right? So he's not suddenly a bad player. But I was thinking today, and this might be quite radical, but move De Gea on and give the job to Henderson. You know, like Henderson's much more the kind of keeper that benefits the system that a Ten Hag would play. And I was thinking, look what Guardiola did with Hart. You know, basically, you know, nope, and brought in I'm forgetting the goalie's name now. Yeah, he ended up not doing so well, I think, but or at least but like Hart was City, right? He was the guy, and Guardiola's like, yeah, you don't fit what I need. You can't play with the ball at your feet. And I was thinking today, you know, I mean, De Gea's probably been, along with Ronaldo, our best player this year, but is it time to, you know, move him on? And if you're going to do a reboot, have a keeper. And you know, that's the great thing that Liverpool and City did, you know, with getting Alisson and Ederson, like keepers that play that can fit that system. And I wonder if we might need to see a kind of radical choice like that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not so radical, but you know.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, depends on what happens with I don't think the goalkeeper is an immediate problem, and I think with the kind of wages he's on, you're not going to put him on the bench, and you're not going to be able to sell him. So I think he's going to be here for at least another year. But I mean, we'll see what happens. There's always rumors about what Henderson's role is and what De Gea's role is, and I think and I'll make that my final point there. But I'll just touch on Maguire because you mentioned Maguire. I think Maguire is probably the most. I honestly believe he's the worst starting centre back in the Premier League right now. Like there's no starting centre back in any team. You could pick the worst team in the league, which is probably Watford, and their centre backs are probably better than Harry Maguire. I really honestly don't think. Honestly, and I've seen it. You know, the problem with Maguire, when he plays for England, you're playing against Albania, you're playing against San Marino. You're not really playing against the big teams usually. And he has two centre backs next to him. He has two wing backs on either side, and he's got two defensive midfielders in front of him. So he's got like 5 players whose job it is to protect him. It's probably 6 actually. My math is good. Yeah, 6. He's got 6 players whose job it is to protect him. So I don't think there's a good defender there. I think he's an okay defender. He's good for the Burnley. Maybe he could play the Burnley. Burnley are not going to be in the Premier League next season. So you know he's not even going to be able to get you know. So he's not.
You're sending him to the Championship, are you?
Well, I mean, the issue for them right now is that, well, you know what, that's not true. They could actually be in the Premier next season if Everton kind of slip up, and they might stop and say, I'm being disrespectful. They might still be in the Premier League. But I think that's where his level is, Burnley. Like that's the team that he needs to be for. He's not a top level center, but that's my opinion. And I feel sorry for him. I would feel sorry for him actually. But then he comes up with statements like the one he made in the game. I don't know if anybody has read it, but it's basically, if I wasn't so good, 2 managers wouldn't be picking me. I'm like, oh my God, you know, like just. And then he's not a captain for sure. He's not a captain. He doesn't do interviews. He, you know, apparently there's a clip. He put a clip on Twitter making a 40-yard pass to, I don't know who was in the bench, a 40-yard pass.
That's the Hannibal.
To Dallo. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he put that up. No, not the Hannibal. No. He put a clip after the Norwich game. He actually put a clip of a pass that he made, a 40-yard pass that actually reached a player. He actually put that clip of himself doing it on Twitter. So, he's like desperately trying to prove that he's good. Yeah, see, that's just my reaction as well. Hands on the head, right? And then he does that to Hannibal, where he plays the pass out, and it's like, well, it's Hannibal's fault. And of course, what he did after that, apparently he was trying to play offside while Lindelof was like he could see Lindelof was 5 yards behind him, and apparently he still tried to play offside. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it is. He does things. I feel sorry for him. I want to feel sorry for him, but then he does stuff like that where you don't feel sorry for Maguire. So I would love to see him moved on, but realistically, I don't think he will be leaving at the end of the season. The investment is just too much that they will call it quits on him. He'll probably be stripped of captaincy.
That's what I was going to ask you. What do you think of? I was just going to say, do you think that happens?
I think it will. I think it will happen. The only problem is, who do you give it to then? And I think that's why, and again, conspiracy theory, I think that's why Rangnick said that we need an upgrade in 10 outfield positions. He didn't mention the goalkeeper because I think De Gea will be the captain next season, because he's the only logical choice. You can't give it to Ronaldo, you can't give it to Bruno. So I think that's why he said that. So I think that's probably where they headed. But I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens. On that note, I think we'll. Any final thoughts? We'll kind of wrap it up here. But are there any final thoughts? And I think Mike, Farhan, anything that needs to be added about this whole situation?
I think well, in a season of disappointment, this Ten Hag is, maybe a kind of a light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. I mean, as we talked about earlier, we're learning to kind of live with bated breath when it comes to United these days. But I think I was happy we got Rangnick, and I still am, even though things haven't quite worked out. I'm still happy with that. But I'm glad they made this appointment. I'm glad they didn't go for like Pochettino and maybe some of the more obvious choices. I think this could be a really good kind of coming together of a manager just at the right time in his career, a team that is going to be a massive challenge, but if he's given the power and given the support, I don't think we're going to need to wait 5 years. It could be 2.
I mean, if everything goes well, 5 years is not needed to be waited. I think it can be sooner. But it all depends, right? I mean, we're not going to sit here and predict that we're going to do a quadruple in 5 years' time or 4 years' time. I don't think we should be doing that. So we'll just wait and see what happens, right? And then we go from there. Farhan, anything for you to?
No, I think Mike said pretty much everything. One thing I would say is that we just got to be patient as well throughout all this. Obviously, I don't think it should take 5 years before we're competing at the high level again, but it will take time for Ten Hag to adjust to the Premier League speed and the intensity of the game. I'm sure it'll take some time there. So, but if he's back the way we understood he's back, and he has some power over the final say over certain players, then I have no, like what Rangnick said was what I feel like. If you have a clear plan in 2 to 3 windows, you can get what you need in that time frame. And I just hope this team doesn't just derail with one signing of the Cristiano Ronaldo, the Maguire, whatever, just to derail the plan for the most part and just stick to it. So I hope we do that this time around.
Just final.
I think Farhan, what you said. Even if it's a young team and we get some players in new and whatnot, it takes a little bit. I just want to see them compete.
Yeah.
At a minimum, compete.
Yeah.
Every ball, 90 minutes, and I mean, and that's where you see the separation between a Liverpool, a City, even a Chelsea. Like every player competes everywhere across the pitch. And if we get that, I mean, and even if we don't make 4th and don't make Champions League next year, we end up maybe 5th, 6th, 7th, as long as we compete and there's effort and desire. And I think it sounds like Ten Hag will be good for that.
No, I think we've got the Arsenal game coming this weekend. That would be an important one.
In this household,
against Chelsea. And hopefully the players will be motivated. Hopefully the players will realize that there's a new manager that's watching them and their futures are on the line. Hopefully some of them at least get that message. So I don't think they will, but
Yeah,
hopefully
same.
some of them will think like that, and maybe we'll get a decent performance out of them. But we'll see what happens. Final notes on that as well. Ten Hag's assistant coach Michael Van Der Beek. I think that's pronounced. We'll let you ask Lizette. We need to start learning how to pronounce these names, all these Dutch names. I'll ask Lizette to help us out. But yes, there will be assistant number 2. I think there was talk about Robin van Persie coming in, perhaps even René Mullenstein or even Steve McLaren. That is still to be decided, so we don't know where that's happening. And I think the last thing that I will say, because I think I forgot about to mention that, but regards to David De Gea or anybody else, if Ten Hag says he doesn't want David De Gea, we got to be all in, right? We got to say that's fine. That's your decision. If you want to start with Harry Maguire, you start with Harry Maguire, right? Whatever he says, we got to be all in. I think the coaches need to be all in. The players need to be all in. We got to let him do what he wants to do. I don't think he will start Harry Maguire unless he's been told by upper management that he's got to start him. But if he decides that I'm going to play with Harry Maguire as my left-sided centre-back, who's going to have to worry about, basically in Ten Hag's system, if you've never seen it, the left-sided and the right, the 2 centre-backs are basically full-backs, and the full-backs are basically wingers. That's how they play. And I think Maguire's probably going to be worried about, I'm sure, why are you so far up? Varane, Lindelof, why are you guys so far away from me? I need you guys up close, please. Sorry, what's going to happen. But if he decides to do that, that's his decision. I think we have to support it. But if he drops Ronaldo, so be it, you drop Ronaldo. I think that's what it is. I think everybody's just got to be all in. So let's play a very quick game. I will ask both of you just as a number question. Farhan, let's start with you. What is the over-under on the number of games before it takes for the media to turn on Ten Hag? Because he's not there. He's not there. I mean, you know what? I saw an article today on the Manchester Evening News, in case any of you read it. Basically, it's that Ten Hag is a yes man. Pochettino is not a yes man. Apparently, that's what this is literally said on the Manchester Evening News. Ten Hag is a yes man, and Pochettino is not, because apparently he told Daniel Levy that he should have spent more money. That he was not happy with the money spent. But yeah, I don't know, where they got get this information. So we're already seeing things like this, bits and bobs. So yeah, how many games? What's the over under? How many games? Because I think it will take 3 games. I'm going to say 3 games is what.
Oh, that's generous. That's very generous of you.
Well, I'm assuming they'll win their first 2, and then they'll fly us, falter the third. That's what I'm going. But how many do you think? Yeah, what's the
yeah. I'm gonna say 2 before we get the Daily Mail article, a Manchester News article.
Gary Neville on Sky Sports.
And Gary Neville on us. This is why we should have got Pochettino. Oh, I can already see it for sure.
Pochettino, they should have signed Pochettino because he's got the DNA. He's got the understanding. He's got the DNA. That's what. Mike, what's your answer?
I was actually going to say 10.
10. Well, 10 for Ten Hag. There you go. That's good. 10 for Ten Hag.
Well, I mean, I think, I think hopefully there's at least an understanding that, this is a new thing. It's a reboot. If we're going to move players out, bring new players in, like Farhan said, or I think you said too, Rohit, he's got to acclimatize to the Premier League. And I think 10 games will take us up to about Christmas or so? Is that about right?
Not, depends. You think 10 league games or 10 games in total? Because they're playing the Europa League.
League games.
Prem. It has to be the Prem.
Yeah. Premier League games takes you probably into October. I think.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Because they start in August. So.
Yeah. Well, they're going to start early this year as well because the World Cup.
By the fall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at that point, 10 games in, you've played about almost half the league. Mm-hmm. We don't know the schedule yet, I don't think. So and I think we start to see what the team's going to look like, but I think that, as I was saying a few minutes ago, I think it's going to be the mentality, and if he changes the mentality, then I think that will maybe stave off some of the wolves, so to speak. But I mean, if they're already saying he's
Mike, you're very generous and you're very calm-hearted. Media doesn't work that way, my friend. 10 games is way too much. Yeah, no, it's only because he's not their choice, right? When somebody is your choice, you kind of are a little bit more open. And I think they gave Solskjaer a lot of time because he was their choice. I don't think Ten Hag is their choice. So we'll have to wait and see, though. All we can do as fans is stick together, and hopefully we can, because this is our choice in some ways. And so we've got to stick by him at least for 2-3 years, however long it takes for it to work. But anyway, on that note, thank you so much, Farhan. Thank you so much, Mike. I think we went a bit longer than we thought we would, but it's always great to hear your opinions and your insights into what is it's an exciting moment in time. Everyone's also depressed from Tuesday and probably more depressed from what's to come on Saturday and then next week. I think probably be more excited, but I think it's just tempered excitement at this point. This is what the club does to you, right? This is what they do. But nonetheless, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate all of that. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel on YouTube as well as on Facebook. We're also on Instagram now, Footy Late Night. That's our handle. So please do follow us on Instagram as well. You can catch all the exciting content that we have for you. We're gonna have some more coming up tomorrow, and then of course we've got a lot of match reactions coming up on Saturday. And talking of one more thing, which of titles, Bayern Munich could win their 10th title in a row on Saturday. We might be there for the reaction for that. I mean, that's a real underdog story there for you, if you're interested in that. But yeah, we'll be following that story as well. So stay tuned. Take care. Have a good day or night, whatever time you're watching this, and we'll see you again very soon.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, gentlemen.